The story of the oak. I am so old. I have witnessed so much. I have heard things that can't be retold, and I have seen things that can't be believed. I have felt things from all those who have touched me. Sit, young ones, and let me tell you my tale. I was birthed from my mother when I fell from her branches one autumn in the form of a perfect-shaped acorn. This was when the forest was still thick and the ground still green. I first seen the light of the day when my tender shoot thrust forth from the ground, and I swayed in the sweet spring breeze, waving and singing to my brothers and sisters. I felt very safe surrounded by my grandfathers and grandmothers, standing tall and proud. How old they were, even back then. I too soon started to grow tall and strong. The four-legged ones and the winged ones were plentiful at this time, and the two-legged ones were few. We loved to watch the babies born around us in the spring. Baby deers and little rabbits, the cheeky squirrels who would play in our branches and tickle us with their little feet. We protected the woodland creatures, and we sighed when they passed to the other side. We seen many generations come and go as we grew and aged. One day when I was still young, perhaps only about 100 winters old, we noticed the two-legged creatures becoming more frequent visitors to our forest and lake shore. As the years passed, their numbers grew, and they started to build little round nests on the earth. Strange little nests they were, and strange little creatures, wearing the furs of the other woodland creatures and constantly chattering. We learned to understand their noises, as we did the other creatures, and we would listen with amusement and sorrow to their tales. These people, as we learned to call them, brought with them magical beings and the ability to control the forces of nature. They caught and contained the wild fire that we were so afraid of. They handled it with pride and adoration. We admired them, their skill and fearlessness, for we could never handle the wildness of the fire as they did. They made magical things from the fire, transformed food and boiled herbs, and made magical instruments to contain and transform these natural forms. There was one who was above all else in this skill of transformation. We noticed her the moment she arrived. She was not like the rest, nor was her companion. He, glowing and bright, we recognized his spirit as it was the same as the older spirits who walked the forest and swam in the waters and tended to us grounded beings. They were here with us always, and they also watched with interest. The woman was not glowing bright like the man, but darker in feature, with a dark glow which came from somewhere beyond the stars, or perhaps from deep within the ground. We could not tell, but we could feel her dark radiance. The trees whispered as she passed, and the ground plants reached towards her. They set up home in the middle of the lake, and we would watch the people come to the edge of the lake to petition her for healing and him for protection. Their love encompassed all the people, and we felt it radiating through the forest. Often she would walk through the forest, humming softly to herself and speaking to the plants. They would always offer themselves freely to her, and we would reach our leaves towards her, wanting to feel her touch. One day she came and sat down against me, and I could feel her love coursing through her and feel her life force radiating up my trunk. It was then that I realized there was more than one life force I could feel. There were three. 3 radiant, glowing energies mingling with mine. I sent back my own loving energy and assured her that we would always love and protect her and her 2 little ones, unfurling slowly in her belly. She marked us as special, along with some of our grounded cousins who also loved her deeply. It seemed like only a leaf rustle in time before the babes were born, one glowing like the sun and one darkly shimmering like the dark earth beneath our roots. One was clear-skinned and radiant, and one furred and beautiful like the woodland creatures we loved so much. As time passed, they would play and sing and laugh beneath our branches, and we watched them grow. We loved them immensely, so we were saddened when people would stand under our branches and whisper hurtful things about one and beautiful things about the other. These two-legged beings do not yet understand the duality of life and the beauty in darkness and difference. Soon the words got crueler and harsher, and other children would push the Dark One and cause him harm. We started to get angry, and we would shout with our leaves, and our other cousins would join in. Our voices joined would sound like a fearful roar. Unfortunately, this made the other people even more scared of the Dark One. They thought he had power to control us, and didn't realise it was because we loved him. Soon his mother came to sit under our shade and talk to us about her hurt and sadness at the treatment of her child. She wept and pleaded with our guardians for advice and help. Her pain was our pain, and we rustled low and mournfully in our comfort. She acknowledged our comfort as she always did. She was one of the few who heard our voices. But then the woman disappeared one day and was gone for many moons, and we grieved her presence, not knowing to where she had travelled. We heard whispers on the leaves and through our roots of her passing through distant forests and climbing faraway mountains. To what avail we knew not. We knew only that her footfalls were heavy and her soul sad. So said our brethren who witnessed her passing. After many moons she did return, but she was not the woman we remembered. Her dark radiance was tinged with sadness and despair, and she no longer listened to our voices. She was too deep in sadness. Strange things happened upon her return. The animals hid from her presence, and the herbs quivered. Her children were confused and constantly sought our comfort, wondering why their mother had left and who this woman was who had returned. She looked the same, but her light was different. For many moons upon her return, she crept through the darkness, muttering her strange words and taking the herb friends against their will. They were scared, as they knew their power was being used not for the right purpose. There was darkness within the darkness, and we trembled for what was to come. Eventually, she turned her sights onto us and our cousins, and tore many branches from our bodies to create a magical fire, upon which she cast her large iron pot. To this she added many things, and expended her energy beyond limits. These were terrible days and nights, and all this before she brought in the blind man and the young one. Her grief was overwhelming and all-consuming. We wished we could show her how beautiful and perfect her Dark One was, and that this cruelty and grief was unnecessary, but she could only see through the eyes of the two-legged creatures and their expectations. She, who was divine, yet could not see the divine in her child. Dark things would come to pass from her actions, and dark days were ahead. But also divine light came from this darkness, as it is the way of nature, if only people noticed. But now I grow very weary as the sun is drooping, and I feel I must rest. I am very old, even for one of my kind. I will rest and then continue with my story shortly. But know this, the story is not all bad, and our love for the woman was recovered, as was hers for us. Beautiful things were yet to come once the darkness had passed, just like the sun returning after the storm. But for now, child, I must rest. I bid you a restful night. Blessed be.